Hello friends, salutations. It's Sa, your favorite yogi, coming right back at you with another video. Today covering the 8 limbs of yoga. So, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which were written many years ago, 400 years before Christ, brings together the essential principles of yoga in 196 short sayings, short spiritual truths, called sutras, which means threads. And the Yoga Sutras, which means threading union, or threading the union, or union of threads, outlines the vision, practices, techniques, and experiences that arise along the yoga journey. The 8 limbs of yoga are often considered to be the heart of the Yoga Sutras. Now, the 8 limbs outline a complete path of spiritual transformation, beginning with ethical values, followed by the integration of the body, the physical body, and breath. This integration prepares us for progressively deeper states of meditation, leading to an experience of unity or complete divine consciousness, called samadhi. So the 8 limbs of yoga can be thought of as or described as the tree of yoga. Consider a tree. Think of a tree. And the ethical precepts are the first limb of yoga, the yamas. They form the roots. And the second limb of yoga is the niyamas, which are the inner values. And this forms the trunk of the tree. The asana, which is the third limb, are the steady and sustained, relaxed, comfortable postures, which most people are familiar with. Most people associate yoga with the asanas, which is the third limb. And that represents the strong supporting branches of the tree. Pranayama, which is the fourth limb, is represented by the leaves, opening to receive the vital life force energy, the expansion of the life force energy. And that has to do with all the breath work, the breathing techniques, the breath of life. Pratyahara, which is the fifth limb number 5, turns the senses inward. It is the withdrawal of the senses, which is represents the buds, safeguarding the tree's vital energy. And this can be demonstrated very clearly in the practice of yoga nidra, dynamic conscious sleep, yogic sleep, which is a very powerful and expansive technique and very, very life-giving and explorative process within the system of yoga. So that safeguards the vital energy of the tree. And then we move on to the sixth limb, which is dharana, which is pure concentration, focus of energy, focus of thought and concentration, the gaze, focusing our attention on one single thing at a time, which is the tree's energy focused one-pointedly toward blossoming, toward realizing itself, self-realizing. And after that, we move on to dhyana, which is meditation. So that's this is the seventh limb, which the other limb I mentioned before, people usually associate yoga with, which was asana, the postures. But this is the other limb or part of yoga that is people really associate with, which is the meditation part. This seventh limb, dhyana, is the tree's effulgence of fragrance, the fragrant flowering of the tree. And then from there we move on to the last and final limb, the eighth limb, samadhi, which represents the fruit of yoga as unity. It is a life-giving fruit, the bearing of fruit, the abundance of fruit that is a result of everything that's come before it. So that is a spiritual union. The samadhi is the achievement of the divine consciousness, supreme consciousness as well. And this wonderful system of yoga, these 8 limbs, practice in succession, practice daily, or practice in going towards spiritual union, cultivates the higher self, cultivates the best version of the human being, and allows the human being to really flourish and unleash dormant and latent gifts and powers as well. So this is just a brief summary of the 8 limbs. We'll get into more detail with the 8 limbs, starting with the yamas in the future, the ethical precepts, and break down the different parts of that, as well as niyamas. They have 5 different sub-units within it that we'll break down as we go forward. So I hope you enjoyed this brief presentation. And for those of you who are wondering about my previous video, my recitation, my interpretation of William Butler Yeats's The Second Coming, one of my favorite poems, one of my favorite poets, wondering how is that connected to yoga? Well, that's very powerful for